Alright, good afternoon, guys. I know it's been, I didn't get a video to you guys over the weekend, so we're doing one today, and we're gonna continue with Joseph's story. Just as a quick refresher, we ended up at the part where Joseph's older brothers came to Egypt to buy grain because the famine had reached Canaan, and they had been instructed by their father Jacob to go and purchase grain from Egypt. And then they get there, and Joseph, knows it's them. They don't know, that the governor of Egypt at this time is the brother that they sold into slavery, but he knows that it's them, and so he takes his unresolved feelings out on them, I would say, and he tells them, they're telling them who they are. We're sons of one man. There's 12 of us. One of us has left us, is gone from us. Because remember, they know that they sold Joseph into slavery. However, Jacob believes Joseph to be dead at this point, because that's what the brothers led Jacob to believe. So now, he tells them, like, they're spies, you want to, come look for the weaknesses of our land now that the famine is here. And they're telling him, no, we just want to buy food, so that we may have food to eat and so that we may live. And Joseph tells them, if you are not spies, then bring your little brother to me, because remember, they have another little brother younger than Joseph at this point, named Benjamin. So that's kind of where are going to pick up where Joseph has let all but one of them go. He kept Simeon in prison, so there's that. But he let the rest of them go and get Benjamin. So, Genesis 43, that's where we're going to pick up here today. So here we go. Genesis 43. The brothers returned to Egypt. But the famine continued to ravage the land of Canaan. When the grain they had brought from Egypt was almost gone, Jacob said to his sons, go back and buy us a little more food. But Judah said, the man was serious when he warned us. You won't see my face again unless your brother is with you. If you send Benjamin with us, we will go down and buy more food. But if you don't let Benjamin go, we won't go either. Remember, the man said, you won't see my face again unless your brother is with you. Why are you so cruel to me? Jacob moaned. Why did you tell him you had another brother? The man kept asking us questions about our family, they replied. He asked, is your father still alive? Do you have another brother? So we answered his questions. How could we know he would say, bring your brother down here? Judah said to his father, send the boy with me, and we will go and we will be on our way. Otherwise, we will die of starvation, and not only we, but you and our little ones. I personally guarantee the safety. I personally guarantee his safety. You may hold me responsible if I don't bring him back to you. Then let me bear the blame forever. If we hadn't wasted all this time, we could have gone and returned twice by now. So their father Jacob finally said to them, if it can't be avoided, then at least do this. Pack your bags with the best products of this land. Take them down to the man as gifts: balm, honey, gum, aromatic raisins, pistachio nuts, and almonds. Also take double the money that was put back in your sacks, as it was probably someone's mistake. Then take your brother and go back to the man. May God Almighty give you mercy as you go before the man, so that he will release Simeon and let Benjamin return. But if I must lose my children, so be it. So the men packed Jacob's gifts and double the money and headed off with Benjamin. They finally arrived in Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the manager of his household, "These men will eat with me this noon. Take them inside the palace, then go slaughter an animal and prepare a big feast." So the men did as Joseph told them, and took them into Joseph's palace. The brothers were terrified when they saw that they were being taken into Joseph's house. It's because of the money someone put in our sacks last time we were here. They said he plans to pretend that we stole it. And then he will seize us and make us slaves and take our donkey. Okay, so I want to stop right there, at least for today. And I want to talk about, how chapter 43 begins. Because it's very interesting to me, that, while Judah is having this conversation with his father, he is telling him, look, the governor of Egypt said we will not see him again unless we bring our younger brother Benjamin with us. And Jacob is doing the exact thing that you would expect him to do, especially after losing Joseph all those years ago. He is trying to keep Benjamin there with him because of the fear of losing him as he lost Joseph. But what I find so fascinating about this part of the story is how, even though it says Judah is the one that tried to come back and collect Joseph in the well, that he had the plan to collect Joseph and bring him back home before he was sold. And now we see that the brothers I think that they are remorseful for their actions against Joseph all those years ago, because we see how much they are willing to do to protect Benjamin in this moment. Judah tells him, look, send him with me, and hold me responsible if anything shall happen to him. He tells him, if anything happens to him, the blame is all on me. And we see even Jacob ask him, he's like, why did you have to tell him you had another brother? And then they tell him, like, he was asking about our families. He was asking, is your father still alive? Do you have another brother? Yes. And they had to tell him, yeah, we do, and our father's alive. Keep in mind, at this moment in time, that the brothers still don't know that the governor of Egypt is the brother that they sold into slavery all those years ago. So finally, we see Jacob finally, give in and say, if this is the only way that we can get food, then take your younger brother Benjamin with you. And if I shall lose my son, let it be so. So right in that moment, Jacob was putting the life of Benjamin not only in Judah's hands, but in God's hands. He's trusting God in that moment that God will reunite him with Benjamin, but little does he know, God is using this moment, for those of you who are familiar with Joseph's story, you all know that he's using Benjamin. God is using Benjamin in this moment to reunite Jacob with Joseph, the son that he thought that was dead, all these years. And then they go down to Egypt. Joseph sees his younger brother Benjamin, and in that moment he tells his staff, these men are to eat lunch with me today. Bring them to my palace, to my household, and tell them, go out and slaughter an animal and create a big feast. And then in that moment, when Joseph's staff or guards, whatever you want to call them, brings the brothers into Joseph's palace, they feel like, they're in trouble, and it's because of the money that they didn't know was in their sacks, the extra money that Joseph had instructed his staff to put in their sacks before leaving back to Canaan. And they say, he's gonna kill us. He's gonna say that we stole his money, and this is why he's gonna kill us. What did I learn from this part of the story? I learned that that you have to trust in God's plan. Because even when Jacob is trying to convince Judah to allow Benjamin to stay in Canaan with him because of his fear of losing Benjamin, just as he had lost Joseph all those years ago. Eventually he comes around and says, whatever shall happen with my son, with my sons, let it be in God's hands, basically. So we have to learn to trust God's plan, because God, like I said, God having Judah and the rest of the brothers bring Benjamin to Egypt is what eventually, allows Jacob to reunite with Joseph, because it's all part of God's plan. And so, even when our plans are plans that will fail, and maybe your plans won't fail. Maybe you plan to go and do something great in your life, go have a career and be a great career guy or woman, or maybe you plan to have this amazing family, and maybe that plan comes to fruition. But when things like that happen, it's because your plan and God's plan synchronize. But that's not always the case. Our plans don't always synchronize with God's plan. But remember that when God's plan and our plan don't synchronize, God's plan is always going to be the one that wins, because God's plan is better and bigger than that of ours. And so I ask y'all today, here's my question. Looking back in life, how can you see God's plan in your life failures, and how your failures catapulted you into a better plan that God had for you? Think about that. I think about this in my life, and I had all these plans coming out of high school for myself. I was going to be 30 and be a married man and have a great family and, a beautiful wife and amazing kids. And I was gonna, finish high school and go to college at a specific university. My plan was to go to college at Texas Tech University, get my degree in journalism, and maybe be a sports analyst. I love sports, and I always wanted my career to be something to do with sports. I grew up, loving football. I also watch quite a bit of basketball. Not as much baseball, but I will watch baseball when it's, certain teams playing. Specifically, if there's a Yankee game and I can catch it, then I'll watch it, but that's really the only baseball team I watch. But my point is, I had all of these plans to have graduated from Texas Tech University after high school, to at 30 years old I was going to be married with kids, and here I am, older than 30, and none of that happened. But you know what? I moved from one state to another, and that was great because it allowed me to build a relationship with a part of my family that prior to I had very little of a relationship with. So it allowed me to build a relationship with family. It allowed me to get a surgery done that I sorely needed. I really needed that surgery, and I got done within the first 8 or 9 months of me being in this other state. And then, you know, a few years later, I was able to find God, find faith in God, and because of that, I'm in church. I have friendships with great church people, and they help me to stay grounded in my faith, and would I have been a God-fearing man if any of that other stuff in my life that I had planned came to pass? Maybe, but I can't say for sure. I can tell you I wasn't a believer in God before moving to the state where I'm living now. And not to say that didn't take time, I moved here when I was 22, and I didn't become a believer in God until I was 26, 27-ish. So that still took quite a bit of time. But and that just goes to show that my point here is that sometimes our plans synchronize with God's, sometimes they don't synchronize with God's plans for us. But when that happens, God's plan is bigger and better. And so, we gotta roll with the punches of God's plan, even when it feels like it's the wrong thing to do, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I always wanted to be in this where I am right now. I didn't. I have a lot of family in the state where I was living before, and I still have a lot of family there. And now I don't get to see them, all that often, and I miss that part of my family. But I also wouldn't, if I had all this to do over again, there are parts of it that I would redo, because now I'm a better man for being able to be around the part of my family that I'm around now. And I'm also a better man for finding faith. So, I just want to tell y'all, believe in God's plan, follow God's plan, and, anyway, I'm going to pray us out. Dear Father, I come to you this afternoon to thank you for always having a bigger plan for us, and while you allow us to go on our own journeys, you also are still there when we want to get off our own journey and get back on your journey that you have laid before us. You say that you have plans to prosper us, not to harm us. And I think this part of Joseph's story, will show that as we move forward in Joseph's story. Father, and I just want to thank you that you woke us up today, because you didn't have to wake us up. Neither one of us knows when that day of coming home is for us. You know that for everybody. You know how many hairs each of us has on our heads. And again, I just want to pray also, Father, that if there are people that are going to watch this video later on today or sometime in the future that have their own plans that don't match up with yours for them, I pray that you show them the plans you have for them, and then that they continue to walk in your path that you have set out for them, not in their own path. Because, Father, you know that when we walk in our own path, sometimes it's good. We can succeed on our own path, but a lot of times we fall into valleys when we walk on our own path. Not to say that we won't walk into valleys when we walk on your path, Father, but the valleys to me are so much better when we're walking in your path, only because you are in the trenches with us when we are in those valleys. You are also with us when we walk on our own path, but there are so many more darker times and things that happen to us when we walk on our own path. Because that's when the enemy can attack us, and we don't know how to use the shield and sword that is your word when we don't walk your path, Father. And so I ask that anyone who's not walking your path right now, show them the way to get back to it, Father. And in these things I pray. Amen. Alright, guys, so that's the end of this video. Still have a little bit of chapter 43 left to read, so we will do that tomorrow. Tomorrow we start with Genesis 43 verse 19, and it goes all the way from 19 to 32. So, I may break that up into 2 more videos, or I may just do a full video of Genesis 43, 19 through 32 tomorrow. Who knows? But for now, that's it for the day, and I hope that you guys have an awesome day. Thank you, and see you later. Bye.